Hey, what's up, guys? It's Russo. Hope you're having a good weekend so far. I've got 6 plays for the Sunday slate, and I'm excited to get into it. Want to let you know real quick, we do have another special going for our Discord for fall. Through the whole month of October, use code FALL. You get 75% off your first month. All that information is down below. Let's start talking about the picks. So I'm going to be going with Darren Waller over 7.5 fantasy score, Quentin Johnston over 13.5 fantasy score, James Cook over 16.5 fantasy score. Now these 3 plays in particular are plays that I just want a little bit of everything. I'll break that all down as we get into the individual plays, but I did go for 3 fantasy scores this week on my six pick. It's going to go with Breece Hall, 4.5 receiving targets, Jaxson Dart over 7 rush attempts, and then we're going to cap it off with Jonathan Taylor over 2.5 receptions. Before we break into all the details, if you guys haven't signed up for Underdog yet, they actually updated the bonus. So use code BACKDOOR and you will get $100 in bonus funds when you play your first 5. So wanted to share that with you guys. They're also running Boosttober right now. So unlimited boosts right now over on the Underdog platform. Go check it out. All that information is down below. And if you want a free $20, just use code BACKDOOR over at Chalkboard, and they're just going to give you $20 to play with. So you can use that immediately as soon as you sign up. No deposit required. So take advantage of that. Code BACKDOOR will get you $20. So let's start breaking down these plays. All right, let's see who I had here first. Okay, so I got the over under. So we got Quentin Johnston. So yeah, maybe we'll get through some of the fantasy scores first. Let's see here. All right, so 47.5 over under. One of the higher game totals on the week. Chargers favored by just 2.5, so it should be kind of close. Playing at home. The main reason I'm taking this is because, I mean, he's clearly the wide receiver 1 for the Chargers. We kind of didn't totally see that coming with the way he debuted as a rookie, and then had, dropping the ball, and he's cleaned all that up, and he's become what his sort of draft capital suggested that he would be. And even with the new coaching staff coming in, he's adjusted well, and the culture is great in LA right now. And he's done this all 4 weeks. He's exceeded this 13.5. Coming off against the Giants, he went for 23.8. And then so if we take a look at some of these key matchups, for touchdowns, he's had touchdowns in 3 out of the 4 games that he's played so far. So 75% hit rate across the board for fantasy score, for touchdowns. And then he's got this matchup against Washington, who's actually really soft on allowing touchdowns to wide receivers. They're 21st. So they on average 1.2 touchdowns per game to wide receivers, and then overall 14th. So 2.5 total against their opponents, but wide receivers, it's actually goes from 14th to 21st. So that's the soft spot right there, is the wide receiver position. You could also, there's a lot of stuff you could take for Quentin Johnston this week. If you look at his receiving yards, he's got 100% hit rate. So you might want to take that instead. I'm going with the fantasy score. The matchup is soft for receiving yards, 24th in receiving yards allowed, and then overall 27th. So it's just Washington through the air. They've been allowing a lot regardless of who is on the other side of the ball there. Let's take a look here at the touchdowns in particular. See what some of these past receivers have done. So they've actually, Drake London's the only wide receiver recently who got in for a touchdown. But let's go back to the fantasy score and see how some of these wide receivers fared. Okay, so it's not really going that far back in this case. But Drake London went for 25 on them on just the 28th of September. So last week he put up a lot, had 25 points. So I'm taking the fantasy score. I feel like you could take his receptions, you could take his receiving yards. I'm just getting in the fantasy score because I expect him to. I mean, look at his usage just continuing to go up. 6 receptions against Denver, 8 against the Giants. He's just continuing to emerge as their number 1 target. And you can see that in the target share, 25%. Keenan Allen doing a lot too. Ladd McConkey's kind of been the odd man out, but still getting 18% target share. But QJ is the young gun who they're kind of going all in on. The matchup for receptions, 14th in receptions allowed, so middle of the road when it comes to wide receivers, and then overall 8th. So kind of tough, but there is a little bit of a soft spot there with the wide receivers. And if we look at some of these pass, so yeah, Drake London went for 8 receptions on them last week. Trey Tucker had 8 receptions. Let's see who else. And then I don't really count this as much when you go way back to when they played Green Bay, because Green Bay, they don't have, I mean, Romeo Doubs is kind of emerging as that due to some of the injuries and whatnot, but they don't really have, like, they're always just spreading the ball. They're kind of very frustrating for fantasy purposes to figure out who is going to be the wide receiver 1 for Green Bay. So we'll kind of skip that, but you can see London went off. You can see Trey Tucker went off as far as receptions go. So like I said, I like just about everything for Quentin. I mean, 4.5, I think he's good for 5 receptions, but I'm getting all of these just in the fantasy score. So I'm going to be rolling with that. Let's take a look at Daily Grind real fast. See what they're thinking for QJ. It's moving a little slow on me. Okay. This is the DFS optimizer, by the way. I like to vet my plays, and I use this to search for plays too. So, I had it set to over, so let's go to all. I'll show you guys everything on here for QJ. So they do like the receiving yards as the best play. So if you guys want to take that 100% hit rate, go for that. 52.23% odds to hit the over. They like his longest reception over 23.5. They're not feeling the fantasy score. It is a little bit more expensive on Prizepicks. Prizepicks is full PPR though, so keep that in mind. But yeah, I think he'll get close. I think he'll get close to this line even without getting in the end zone. But if he gets in the end zone, I think this is cash. But yeah, everyone else has it below. I mean, like DraftKings has it at 13.5, but other than that, everyone has it just a little bit lower. So the optimizer isn't liking that. That's why it's only at a 50.23% odds to hit the under. But go with your gut. They do have his target set all the way up at 8.5. And that's just a 50-50 shot according to the optimizer. So some pivot options here if you don't want to follow me with the fantasy score, but that's what I'm rolling in this slip. So, all right, let's, did I even do the breakdown? Yeah, I did. Okay. Let's move on here. All right. So Jonathan Taylor, I like everything for Jonathan Taylor this week too, but his fantasy score is set pretty high at 19 on Prizepicks. But I mean, like, I think he's going to be the RB1 on the week with this matchup here. Let's take a look at the over/under. I don't think that the Raiders are going to fare well against Indianapolis, playing in Indianapolis. So 47.5 point over/under. So still on the high side for the game total, but 7-point spread favoring the Colts. So I just expect the Colts to be able to kind of handle this game. I think JT will get a lot of usage in this. That's why I'll probably have some slips where I take him over on his fantasy score over the 19 as well. But I decided to go with the receptions because he's been getting really a lot more involved in the passing game. They've been utilizing this skill set that I've always thought he had, but other teams just didn't, or other, I guess it's the same, it's still Shane Steichen. So they're just, I guess, opening things up more for him and allowing him to get into the passing game more, but 75% hit rate on these receptions. And the only one he missed against Denver, he still had 2 receptions in that game. Coming off this game against the Rams, where he had 5 receptions in that game. Now, it is a tough matchup against the Raiders on paper. So 18th in receptions allowed overall, but when you go to the running back, it's down at 11. They allow 4.2 on average, but he's getting all of the work. If this game gets really out of hand, we may see DJ Giddens get in there and get some love in like the fourth quarter, but I think that they're just going to use JT to completely close out this game. If we look at, let's see. Yeah, he's at 11%. Not too bad target share for a running back. That's kind of the most you can expect unless you're someone like Christian McCaffrey, some of these super pass catchers. But DeAndre Swift had 4 last time they matched up against Vegas. And then you have Travion Henderson back here, had 6 receptions. You can see like a decent amount of these guys beat their lines against the Raiders. Not Washington, but Washington hasn't really been utilizing the pass catching. And then you got the Chargers. Amari and Hampton didn't get it done either. But I'm gonna be rolling with it. I think he's good for at least 3. Let's look at his targets here. So yeah, solid catch rate. Is that right? Yeah. So 100%, 75%, and then 100%. 5 targets, 5 receptions. So he's a underrated pass catcher in my opinion. But yeah, I think this is going to be great fantasy output for all the key players. I think Daniel Jones is a solid start. I think Michael Pittman's a solid start for just like fantasy purposes. And then Jonathan Taylor, obviously, I think he gets back to just like burning. And yeah, like I said, the fantasy score will be tempting because I think it's going to be one of these games. Yeah, it's at 19 on Prizepicks. So I'm going with the receptions. The 2.5 receptions just seems like the bargain, but I think he's going over this fantasy score. I think he's having one of those days. I think it's going to be one of those games where he's up in the 20s for fantasy score. So let's take a look and see if there's any pivots you guys prefer on daily grind. Yeah, so they don't like that fantasy score just because it's so much higher than all these other platforms. A lot of them have it down at 16, 17, Prizepicks all the way up at 19. But again, Prizepicks is full PPR, so their line is going to be different than some of these half PPR platforms. But so they like his rushing and receiving yards over. There's the receptions. They have a decent amount of juice, 53.24% odds to hit the over on the 2.5 receptions, minus 134. Everyone has that line at 2.5, and just about, I mean, Pinnacle has it at a minus 144 to go over. A lot of these, there's a lot of juice on it. BetMGM minus 145. FanDuel, kind of a 50-50 shot there. Maybe they're looking at that matchup, but I still think he's getting it done personally. They like his rush attempts over 19.5, probably for similar reasons. Think he's going to have a big game. Just a lot of plays, maybe just running the clock and just getting the game over, but we'll see. I wasn't expecting that Thursday night game to be close, and I was way off about that. I mean, Vegas wasn't either. The spread was like 8 points, and Mac Jones just came out and balled with all of his wide receivers injured. So turned out to be a pretty interesting game. They like his rush attempts over 19.5, 52.41% odds to hit the over. So you have some pivot options here if you don't want to take the receptions, but the receptions are juiced to the over. So go with your gut. Let's keep it rolling here. So Jaxson Dart, we only have, I mean, like he's gotten some snaps in these past games, but this was his first start against the Chargers, and he went and he got them the dub. And if you watched it, like I know that the line, we're getting it at 7 flat line. The line across all markets is averaging around 7.5, like Outlier showing us here. And he went for 10, so he cleared it by a decent amount. But I mean, that was against the Chargers. Like that should have been a much tougher matchup. He's got this soft matchup here against New Orleans, 25th in rush attempts against. Teams just have a lot of opportunities to rush the ball. But if you were watching the game as a big Cam Scatabo fan, like Jaxson was just wanting to keep it himself, and he was trying to get in the end zone, and he was at every play. If he couldn't figure anything out, he was just running the ball up the middle, like scrambling, like you name it. He's like effective at it. So I think he's going over 7. If we saw 10 in his debut against the Chargers, I think against a much softer defense in New Orleans, he's gonna run the ball for like more than 7 attempts. That's what I'm thinking. Let's see here. And then so if we look at the past here, we got Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Mac Jones, Kyler Murray, dating back to September 7th, and all of them beat their rushing attempts line, what they were currently set at, except for Sam Darnold, who ran the ball 0 times. But yeah, Kyler's was set at 5.5. He went for 7. 3.5 for Mac Jones. He ran it 6 times. That was Mac Jones. And then Josh Allen was set at 6.5, and he went 7. So I think that this rookie is, I mean, like when he's in doubt, he's just running it. And now there's no Malik Neighbors in this game. I still think that the Giants offense is going to be fun to watch and exciting to see. Like, he just brought some juice when he took over. And the franchise is behind him. They're excited about Scatabo and Jaxson Dart being like kind of like the new face of the Giants. Like, they did great in the draft this year. So I like this matchup. 25th in rush attempts allowed. And then we saw what Jaxson Dart did against the Chargers, like 10 attempts. He was just winning there fearless. Like, I'll run the ball on them. I don't care. Let's take a look here and see what the optimizer thinks. Okay, so they definitely love the rush attempts, the top play, over 7. They have it at a 54.32% odds to hit the over, minus 139. Yeah, everyone else has it at 7.5. We're getting it at 7 flat. I think that's the floor for him personally. So worst case scenario, I think we see a push, but we'll see. Let's take a look at this over under. I'm kind of curious. 41.5. So that's kind of to be expected. Neither of these offenses are looking loaded right now. They've got the Saints favored by 1.5 points playing in New Orleans. So they're expecting a close game. And I'm expecting him to be extending some plays and running the ball. And then honestly, in those goal line looks, I would love to see him just dish it off to Scatabo. I have him in Dynasty, and I'm starting him this week. And I'm sure he will get his opportunities. But I think Jaxson Dart wants some rushing touchdowns too. So I think that he's going over 7 personally. All right, what do we got next? Darren Waller. This one's pretty simple. I'm taking the fantasy score with this over 7.5 because the dude got like a lot of love in the red zone. So fantasy score, let's just take a look here. So we'll go to receiving yards. Probably wasn't crazy. Yeah, I don't think he did too much. So if you look at the matchup for the receiving yards, 8th overall is Carolina, and then 2 tight ends, it's bottom of the barrel. Major soft spot here. 31st in receiving yards allowed to tight ends. Now we've got Tyreek Hill, who's out for the season. And I think that some of those targets are going to be going to Darren Waller. I know Achan's going to see a bump. I know Jalen Waddle is going to see a bump, but also I think Darren Waller will. In his first game, he was getting manufactured looks, like specifically in the red zone. So I think when they get close, they are going to draw up some plays for Waller. And we're still getting this line pretty low at just 7.5. So again, small sample size, but he did have 2 touchdowns in his debut against the Jets, and now he's going up against Carolina, who's kind of hard to pin down. Really, they shut out the Falcons, and then it's just like there's been some of these teams this year that are just like really hard to get a read. Like, is it legit when they're shutting teams out, or is it legit when they're getting shut out? Like, we just don't know. They're still kind of, a work in progress, but I like Waller getting this at 7.5 because this is a low enough line that a few receptions, 3-4 receptions throughout the whole game will probably get us close to this, if not cash it. If he gets in the end zone, we're cashed. So I'm going to be taking the fantasy score for Waller. Let's take a look. We'll go back to the optimizer. All right, so they like him over 3 receptions, 51.57% odds to hit the over -126. It's not feeling the fantasy score. They've got it slightly favored to the under 50.74%. And again, it's because Prizepicks is the most expensive, but again, full PPR. So if they think he's going over 3 catches, you'd have to get to 4. That's 4 points. So 4 for 36 yards would cash it. Gets in the end zone, we're golden. And so I think that he will have an opportunity to get in the end zone. And he was getting great separation. Like, that's the thing. He did look good in his debut. And I think that his usage will even go up this week with no Tyreek and his second game. So I'm feeling good about the fantasy score, but you guys do have some pivots here. Well, the only over that they like is the receptions, but give me the fantasy score. He had 2 touchdowns last week, so I'm feeling good about them at least trying to get him in the end zone this week. Let's take a look at that over under. So 44.5 point over under. Miami favored by 1.5 playing in Carolina. So they're expecting some points to be put on the board. If they're favored by 1.5, what are we looking at? Like at least 3 touchdowns, probably. I mean, some field goals in there, but they're expecting Miami to score at least 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think one of those could be Waller, Achan, Waddle, like who knows? But all I know is Mike McDaniel was drawing up plays for the tight end, and we know what Jonnu Smith was doing last year with them, and it looks like they're trying to actually do that with Waller. When he was first announced that he was traded, I was just kind of shrugging because I was like, what is this? And then it's like, yeah, he looks pretty solid. He's getting good separation. They're using him for mismatches, and they're drawing up plays for him in the red zone. So I think I've said enough about that. So let's wrap it up here. I believe that's a lot. No, we got James Cook. We got 2 more. We've been taking this one week after week, and we're just going to keep taking it. He's dominated it. He hasn't gone under 20.8 on the season yet. And, they're playing in Buffalo. This is the prime time game. This is at night. And they're going against New England. And so I feel like, yeah, this game could be surprisingly competitive. Let's take a look and see what they're projecting here. All right. So 49.5 point over under. So it's got to be tied with the highest on the week. Yeah. So almost a 50 point total. Bills favored by 8.5. And, yeah, I mean, like, we don't need to overthink this one. I want a little bit of everything. And I think he's going to crush this again. I think even if he has a little bit of a regression, he's going to beat 16.5, is what I'm feeling. Let's see what he's done in the past. Maybe he hasn't done as well in the past. Yeah. So last year he only went for 8.8, but we know and they lost that game. But we know that this is like a totally different Patriots team, but it's also, his usage is very different too. They've been giving him major bell cow work, like we haven't seen for Cook yet. He performed fine last year, but we know that this year he's been getting like the kind of usage that people have been waiting for. They ended up giving him his contract, and they've been absolutely utilizing him. So let's see here. What do I have it on? Fantasy score? Okay. Let's just jump right over to daily grind. I don't need to break this down too much. We'll see what the optimizer thinks. 16.5. Yeah, a lot of these other platforms have it down in the 15s, so go with your gut. There's other options. Really, the only thing that they're liking on Prizepicks for him is the 9.5 longest reception, favored to the over. But this is what they did to us last week. This is just numbers crunching. Just because these projections are a little bit lower doesn't mean that he's not going to crush this fantasy score again. So I'm not worried about it. It is the top under though. So go with your gut. I'm not taking this under. No thanks. Dude hasn't gone under 20 yet. So, and that was against some softer matchups, but I mean, week 1 was Baltimore, which we're kind of seeing that they're like a little bit more vulnerable through the air. And Baltimore's kind of a dumpster fire right now. But yeah, so I get it that it was the Jets, Miami, and New Orleans. So yeah, those are 3 straight easy matchups, but the Patriots aren't like a contender right now. So let's just, for fun, we'll take a look at, just in case you guys are nervous about this one, but there's no need to be. All right. So, okay. So they are tough against the run. 4th in rushing yards allowed to running backs, but 22nd in receiving yards allowed to running backs. Let's look at the touchdowns. Yeah, the dude just gets a touchdown every single game. Okay, so really good against running backs for touchdowns. So overall, pretty solid. 14th in touchdowns allowed, and then 11th in touchdowns allowed to running backs. So 0.18. Maybe, I don't know. If you guys are afraid of this, just fade it. I'm going back to this play over and over until he gives me a reason not to, but we know the opportunities will be there. So let's wrap this thing up. Breece Hall. All right. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons I like this. We can start by back-to-back weeks with 6 targets. He's basically the wide receiver too. Been getting all the work, and we have Braylon Allen, who will not be playing in this game. If we look at receiving targets allowed, 15th, so middle of the road, is Dallas. But we know that this is just everyone Dallas plays. Dallas is a lot of fun on offense this year, even with losing CeeDee Lamb. How good does this trade for George Pickens look now? George Pickens is balling, and so is Dak. So I think that this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I think that there's going to be a lot of passing going on. Let's take a look at the over/under, see what they're projecting. Yeah, this is a game that I'm going to want a lot of pieces of. So 47.5 over/under. Dallas favored by 1.5, playing in New York. So Jets playing at home. Yeah, let's try to see what we got going here. We're going for targets, so we don't even need him to catch these. 4.5 is just really low. So 26th in receptions allowed. And then to running backs, 28th. So they're allowing 5.8 receptions to running backs game after game, this Dallas defense right now. So through 2025, running backs are averaging about almost 6 receptions, and we need him to get 5 targets, and he's got back-to-back weeks with 6. So we don't have to overthink this one too much. I also do like Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson's going to have a good week. But yeah, we look at Tyrone Tracy, 5 targets, Saquon Barkley, 5 targets. So these are just the 2 pass games to running backs that they're showing us on the 14th of September and on the 4th of September. So again, there's not like a whole lot to break down here. I just think he's going to be targeted through the air in this, what I project to be a shootout. I think he'll actually be pretty solid though, because I think that it looked like they tried to open up the last game with him running the ball a decent amount. So the optimizer does not like his receptions over 3.5. I do. So yeah, go with your gut. A lot of platforms favoring that under. They like him over 0.5 rushing receiving touchdowns. They like his longest reception over 12.5. The optimizer's not feeling Breece. Who else are they going to go to? I mean, I just don't think Dallas's defense is that good, but their offense is great. So yeah, you got some pivots here if you want. A lot of unders they're favoring for Breece. I think Breece is a solid start this week. But again, it's kind of basing it off of what all these platforms, the lines they're putting out, the odds they're putting out, and then the optimizer crunches it for you and tells you whether or not it's a good value or not. I think he's getting 4 receptions though. There's no way I would take this under. But I mean, that's just my take. You guys go with your gut here. So yeah, that covers all of it. I've got to get out of here. Got family in town, and I guess we're getting pizza here in a little bit. So I got to run. So I do want to put out a demon video though. So I'm going to put out a demon video. I'm going to try to do that later tonight. Once I'm done having dinner with the family, I'll come back and throw together a demon video for the Russo Fantasy Sports channel. There's a link to that below. I also post it to this channel too. As far as the link to the video once it's up, and then once I get it up, I'll put it at the end of this video. But anyways, guys, if you guys do want the optimizer or anything from Daily Grind, use code BACKDOOR. You get 25% off, not just your first month, for as long as you lock it in. So if you want that for the full year, or you want to like figure out like how many months do I need to get through the whole NFL season and get 25% off of these tools, code BACKDOOR. They'll let you lock it in for as long as you want. And then I love this app, Outlier. If you want an app that's going to break down all the stats for you and give you a lot of other information, they've got EV bets tab. They've got like everything you could want, insights, and then you got every statistical category you can think of. You can really get into the details by adjusting the timeline, and they'll let you get as detailed as you want. But you can try this one out for free. So sign up through the link below. You don't need to put a code in, and Outlier will give you a week to give it a test run and see how you like it. Don't forget to like the video. Drop me a comment if you guys have any questions. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe. And yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in. Have a good weekend, and I'll catch you in the next one.